sentences together, although he has agreed to debate, so I don't know, maybe they know something. He's going to be so jacked up for those debates you watch. He's sleeping now because they want to get him good and strong, so a little before debate time he gets a shot in the and that's... They want to strengthen him up.
You'd have to be really steeped in right-wing nonsense to even know what any of those jabs pertain to. But there is a way to cut through some of the lies and conspiracy theories and noise. Once again, Hillary Clinton writing in the New York Times this, quote, "These ploys will fall flat if President Biden is as direct and forceful as he was when engaging Republican hecklers at the State of the Union address in March. The president also has the facts and the truth on his side. He led America's comeback from an historic health and economic crisis with more than 15 million jobs created so far. With incomes for working families rising and inflation slowing, investments in clean energy and advanced manufacturing soaring, he'll win if that story comes through. The prelude to an historic and unconventional presidential debate in America is where we begin today. Former Obama campaign manager and MSNBC political analyst David Plouffe is here. Political strategist and MSNBC senior political analyst Matt Dowd is here. And seasoned expert strategist, Democratic strategist Liz Smith rounds us out. Matt Dowd, I'm going to start with you because we did some of this together, preparing candidates who weren't the greatest debaters and playing this game. We should just call it a game. The expectations game is a game, not really even with the voters in mind, but with the media in mind to help shape that first sentence or first line of a story the morning after the debate. Or I guess we're so old it now happens as the debate's happening. What's your sense of what Joe Biden should really be focused on today, tomorrow, and heading into Thursday?
Well, you're right. The expectations game is a big part of this because, in my view, what's the most important part of this debate is what voters' expectations are of the candidate and the delta that exists between what their expectations are and what happens at the debate. That's actually the most important part of this in the course of this. I mean, if I were Joe Biden, I think Hillary Clinton's advice is right on. One part I don't agree with her. I don't think facts actually matter in this election, unfortunately. They don't matter to 44% of the population that we know is already locked in, doesn't care. You can argue with them till you're blue in the face and it won't change their minds on something. But to me, the debate, Joe Biden needs to concentrate on three audiences. And the three audiences are, one, motivating, doing well and being aggressive and showing his energy in that way to motivate the Democratic base, because I think that he still has a point or two to gain by motivating the Democratic base through the debate. Two is if he is able to confront Donald Trump and put Donald Trump back on his heels, and I think the structure of the debate with the ability to mute the mic and no audience may do that, it may help demotivate his base. And then finally, the 8 to 10% of the country that is actually swingable in this election, it's all it is that's left in this country. And I think they're looking not so much for a list of policy things, though I think Joe Biden will be able to enunciate those. What they're looking for is they have questions about his age and his stamina. And if he can answer those questions in a debate in June, and I think the timing of this is actually really important, maybe more important than other debates that have happened in years past, because this is the only time they're going to see these two people on stage for the next 2 or 3 months. The next debate isn't until September. And so that's why I think this debate's going to get the largest audience we've ever seen for a debate. But two, it can really set the tone for the next 2 or 3 months. And that is incredibly important because if Donald Trump doesn't do well, there's not another avenue for him to fix that until September.
David Plouffe, what are your thoughts on this, I guess, day before the debate?
Well, I agree very much with Matthew. So I think in many respects, Biden's challenge here, the central challenge, is one of the easier ones we've had in recent memory because it is simply, and this isn't pundits. I mean, voters have said in polls they're not sure he can get through 90 minutes. You know, they'd be surprised if he doesn't make mistakes. So if he can be forceful and strong and not cough up the football, that's going to go a long way to assuaging some of the real concerns voters have. And I would say something really important, Nicolle, and I agree with Matthew, this is going to be a huge audience, but it's not everybody that's going to vote. So if you're a presidential campaign, you've got to think about There's going to be people who are watching it directly. That's spin proof. People are going to see it. There's going to be tens of millions of people going to vote in this election, particularly young, who are only going to see this through YouTube, through TikTok, through Instagram. So you have to make sure you have some good moments that you can then put money behind. Some of that will hopefully be organic. So that's right. And then I think the question for Trump is, I don't think he's capable of doing this. But if he were simply to say inflation's too high, the border's out of control, you were better off 4 years ago, here's what I want to do about it, that would be also an easy task. I don't think he's capable of doing that. But listen, this is the most important 90 minutes in Joe Biden's political career. It's in my viewpoint, one of the most important 90 minutes in recent American political history. Because if Joe Biden doesn't do what he needs to do Thursday, and I very much think he can, he's a solid debater, I'm not even sure Trump will debate on September 10th. I certainly wouldn't expect he would. So I think this is what you have to seize. And listen, I've helped prepare Joe Biden for vice presidential debates. He works very hard. Even though he's a long and loquacious speaker, he's shown the ability to get things down to 2 or 3 minutes. And he connects with the American people. Even with his challenging poll numbers, Nicolle, he still has an edge on who cares about people like you. And I think as he talks about the economy, as he talks about healthcare, as he talks about democracy, if he does it through that very authentic lens, I think it can be a very good night for him.
Liz, I want to put you on the spot. I think you're three of the smartest operatives that have ever done this job, and you still are doing this job. You're helping the Biden campaign, and we want to hear about that. But I disagree. I think if you're talking about healthcare and jobs, I think you're having a different conversation. People that turn it on want to see if you're strong enough. That's it. And I spent the weekend talking to folks about campaigns. People will go with the crazy guy over the guy that they don't think is strong enough. And Trump, Trump's talking about getting a shot. Ass is the word that was bleeped. We're done bleeping Donald Trump. He accused Joe Biden of sleeping until he gets a shot in the ass. There's always a projection. I mean, it makes me wonder what they're shooting into Trump's ass. I mean, this is not a high-minded debate that meets the sort of intelligence of the kind of people that usually talk about debates. And I wonder how you deal with that. I mean, there should be wrestling people in the spin room. Trump is not going to be out there as a serious human being, let alone a serious candidate for the presidency.
Right. No, I agree with a lot of what you just said. And let's look at Donald Trump. This is not new, him accusing his opponent of doing drugs, using performance-enhancing drugs, getting a shot in the ass before a debate. He did this with Joe Biden in 2020. He did this with Hillary Clinton in 2016. It is a bizarre tick of his. We know that he's a creature of habit. He has a lot of nostalgia for the past. He was a big boxing fan, back in the day. And so I think some of this might be hearkening back to like the smack talk that you have before, big boxing matches. But putting that aside, I think to your point about what's more important, the substance or the style, I agree that style here is going to be really important for both of them. For Joe Biden, he's just got to really meet the low bar of showing up and, being present, somewhat vigorous. With Donald Trump, it's a little bit different, right? My concern as a Democrat is that a lot of people are going to expect the unhinged Donald Trump, the Donald Trump that you spoke about in your intro, to show up. And there's a lot of indications that it might not be the Donald Trump who shows up. This election cycle, he has a much more professional, disciplined team than he's had in the past. I mean, look, it's all relative. And we saw that when he's had big moments before, like the night he won the Iowa caucuses, a very restrained and, dare I say, boring Donald Trump showed up. So there is a chance that Donald Trump shows up on the debate stage on Thursday. And Joe Biden and Democrats need to be prepared for that and be prepared for someone who's not going to show up and be a raving lunatic. But what you can do, however, is get him on the record on the things that we know will be played in those little sound bites that Pluff was talking about, right? Because most people will not be watching the debate in full. They'll be seeing the clips on local media. They'll be seeing clips on TikTok. They'll be seeing clips that their friends are sharing on social media. And we know what the key issues are going to be, right? It's going to be getting Donald Trump, trapping him into saying some of the worst stuff he said about abortion rights, trapping him into saying some of the worst things he said about the election in January 6th, getting him to admit to the fact that he was the reason why Republicans tanked our best chance at bipartisan immigration reform in decades. And, yes, that is an issue of substance. And I do think it is really important that while we do focus on style, we do have to understand that Joe Biden has vulnerabilities with the electorate on two key issues. One is the economy. And to what David said, he's got to show he's going to be a fighter for the middle class. He's on their side. But on the issue of immigration, that is one of the key issues for voters in these swing states. And I really do think, as someone who advised Tom Suozzi in New York 3, that this is a golden opportunity for Joe Biden to do something he hasn't yet, which is to put Donald Trump on the defensive on this issue and show that he is the person who is stoking chaos at the border, not Joe Biden. And that would be a really good way to flip the script on an issue where Democrats are really on their back heel right now.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, let me show some of what Donald Trump, I mean, I like that you're talking about who shows up. Here's some of the Donald Trumps who have shown up in the past. Let me play this for all of you.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
My Social Security payroll contribution will go up, as will Donald's, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it. But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund. Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit
no, you're
that the Russians.
I mean, Matt Dowd, I'm just thinking about debate prep, and I'm thinking about, the moments that you can't plan for. And the State of the Union speech is the right parallel that Hillary Clinton draws, but and she's right to point out his response to the hecklers. But it's also, to what Liz is saying, the response in the room to immigration, when the Republican senator is sort of nodding and improving as a fact check on Joe Biden's side against the Republicans in the room. I mean, I guess if there's one fact to get through, is that Joe Biden was going to do a very Republican bill on immigration, and Donald Trump killed it. But the rest of it feels like an ability to stand up to a bully. How do you sort of prep for that in the momentness?
Well, it's very hard to prep for the in-the-momentness. You have to actually lean on the natural abilities of the candidate, and I think Joe Biden has shown that he has some natural abilities to go off the cuff and do that in a way. Most of the time, I'm not saying all the time. There's been some instances where he hasn't done it well, but most of the time he does it well. I don't think you need to choose this. I don't think it's a false choice to say you either need to choose style or substance. I think you show strength and show what competence by the substance you talk about, including immigration. And I agree 1,000% with Liz on this. I'm surprised that the Democrats and Joe Biden hasn't used immigration as proactive in this. Not that they're going to win the issue on this, but actually put Donald Trump and the Republicans on the defensive in the course of this debate. But I think you show you're strong by having command of the substance and show what the American people. But I think fundamentally, when all is said and done, I think what Joe Biden needs to really relate is, and he needs to give voters a permission structure that says you may, and not say this directly, but you may have questions about my age, or you may not like me, but every day I'm working on my administration is working on behalf of you every single day. And by the way, I'm doing more for Trump voters than Donald Trump has ever done for Trump voters in the course of this. And Donald Trump over there is not doing anything any day of the week that helps anybody but himself. And I think by talking substance and showing his strength, he has to be able to say, you may not like me, but I'm working every day on your behalf. And you may not always agree with me, but that's my North Star. Donald Trump's North Star is himself.
Why not say something about the age? Why not hang a lantern around your own problems, Matt Dowd, and just knock it out as an issue? a cell phone.
Well, I think he could do it. I mean, if I spent 15 minutes, I could come up with kind of a funny line on this in the course of this. I've always thought about the choice here, and I'm not saying you say this, but I always thought about the choice here is the choice. If you have to, Nicolle, if you want somebody to house sit your home and you have two elderly gentlemen that you have a choice between, and you have to pick the two elderly gentlemen to house sit your home. One, this guy named Joe Biden, who is elderly, he may forget to turn the porch light off, and he may take a nap or two while you're away from the house. That's Joe Biden, but he's going to water your plants and feed your dog. Donald Trump, the house sitter, will kill your plants, sell your furniture, and kill your dog, and probably let the burglars in so he can split the profits on whatever the burglar is going to get. That's the choice between two older people that are going to sit your house. Somebody forgets the porch light, and somebody's going to sell your furniture and kill your dog.
That's it. All right, no one's going anywhere. I want to put. You don't have quite 15 minutes, but almost. So work on that line, Matt. Still to come for all of us. There's an eerie quiet among the most MAGA right-wing extremists. People believe it's because they've been spoon-fed a brand new big lie. It's actually not good news. They now believe that Donald Trump cannot lose. And if he does lose, it is because the election was rigged. Of course, none of this is true, but the potential risks to domestic and national security are very real. We'll tell you about it. Plus, despite what the ex-president claims, business executives in corporate America this time around are not exactly on board with another Trump White House. We'll explain. And later in the broadcast, the judge overseeing the New York criminal trial that found the ex-president guilty on 34 felony counts related to his first presidential run in 2016, says Donald Trump will now be free to publicly speak out against the witnesses who testified against him. One of those witnesses will join us. Michael Cohen will be here on the ramifications of loosening Donald Trump's gag order. All those stories and more coming up. Don't go anywhere.
If you spit blood when you brush, it could be the start of a domino effect. New Parodontics Active Gum Repair Breath Freshener. Clinically proven to help reverse the 4 signs of early gum disease. A new toothpaste from Parodontics, the gum experts.
Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Okay, everyone, our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Hi, I'm Donna. I love gardening. I love to go on walks with my husband and my dog, and I love taking balance of nature. It makes me feel sparkly every single day. It's just an amazing product. I'm 56, but I feel 21. I feel so much alive. Balance of Nature is magic in a bottle, and I really love it.
Get 50% off your first set when you order as a preferred customer and use discount code LOVE.
Which looks better, this or this? Seems clear to me. If you love to save, check out the Wise Buy sales event going on right now at America's Best. Get 2 pairs of progressives for just $129.95. Offer includes a comprehensive eye exam. Book an exam online today.
Your loved ones are getting older, and they need your support. Care.com is here to help. It's an easy way to find background-checked senior caregivers in your area and some peace of mind. See why millions of families have trusted Care. Go to Care.com now.
We're coming together for our yearly service project and running a t-shirt fundraiser through Custom Ink to help the cause. Plus, their design services team helped us get a design we love. Come together for a cause. Get started today at customink.com.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan cannon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
At Care.com, you can quickly find local, background-checked sitters, read reviews, see their experience, and get your questions answered.
Hi, this is Jess, our new sitter.
Find a sitter today. Care.com.
Ready for the road trip. Everyone comfortable?
Yep, there's plenty of space. I've even got an extra seat.
Wait, no.
Extra seat!
Let's just let them out.
The Volkswagen Atlas. With 3 rows and seating for 7, everyone wants a ride.
Okay, get in.
And see Despicable Me 4 in theaters July 3rd. Rated PG.
Thursday, the first presidential debate, hosted by CNN. Rachel Maddow and team will preview the rematch. Then stay tuned for the full debate, followed by insights and perspective. Special coverage and analysis begins Thursday at 7 on MSNBC. Katie Tur reports. Weekdays at 3 on MSNBC.
There's been a trend since the May 30th guilty verdict in the New York case. The movement is among independents, and they have moved in recent polls roughly 9 points towards Biden. And remember, 21% of independents in a survey shortly after the conviction said that they would be less likely to vote for Donald Trump as a result of the conviction.
We're back with David, Matt, and Liz. There was something, David Plouffe, that one of the Republicans running against Trump in the primary said to me, and it was that even Trump has seen the same polling that his opponents in the primary had seen, and that was what Karl Rove just said, that a conviction does damage him. It's why he's worked so hard in the Mar-a-Lago case and the Chuck King case to delay accountability, which looks successful, but it wasn't possible in New York. And I wonder, to that trend specifically, to the fact that there are more independents now than there were 4 and 8 years ago, how does Biden build on that?
Well, again, I think the debate is by far, between now and when people start voting, this debate is the biggest opportunity for him. And I just want to double back for a minute, Nicolle. Strength is important throughout the entire debate. So when you're talking about democracy, when you're talking about the rule of law, healthcare, whatever the issue, Biden's got to be strong. He's got to be clear. He's got to put Trump on the defensive, and he can't be defensive. Most incumbents, including presidents, the trap they fall into is they spend too much time defending their record. And if Joe Biden does that, and he knows better, I'm sure they're practicing not to do it. But the thing all of us know on this panel is these are human beings. So there's the practice phase of this, and then they get up there. And they don't always bring to the stage because their opponent annoys them or they get asked a question away. So strength. So for Biden, I think a lot of those independents are the voters who are saying, I'm not sure Biden's up to this, so we can answer that. And then I think, first of all, on immigration, I think that could be a moment that Biden wins in the debate because he can put Trump on the defensive. Back to Matthew's formulation, it's all about him. He couldn't have been clearer. Don't help out on the border. I'm going to undercut Republican senators because it will hurt me and help Joe. And I actually think there's going to be a Hunter Biden moment in this debate, whether it comes from the moderator or for Trump. And to me, Biden can dominate that and say, let's talk about that for a minute. I love my son. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers. And I respect that, as painful as it is. I will not pardon him. I will not commute him. Now, let's talk about how you've handled this, Don. Okay? And a lot of those independents, that's one of their concerns about Trump. And I think the picture Matthew painted is the one you have to do, which is, okay, put yourself a year from now. The two things we know Donald Trump's going to do is investigate his political opponents, and he's not going to be focused at all on the American people. And probably the one thing he'll actually get done is more tax cuts for the wealthy. And if you can paint that picture, and I agree with you on age, I think with independents, if Joe Biden says, listen, I get it. Your choice in this election is between 2 elderly white men. And I get a lot of you aren't excited about that. Like, I meet people where they are. But let's talk about the differences between us. And more importantly, what the next 4 years will be like. And that's the picture Biden, I think, can paint with strength, which is, I'm going to wake up there every day and run through a wall for nurses, for welders, for retirees. And this guy's going to be focused on himself. So I think independents are one. Now, the thing as a Democrat I'm most concerned about is, I think, younger, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, some of these younger voters of color. I don't think a strong debate performance is going to be enough, right? I think it'll help. So that is the trickier piece of the puzzle to figure out here. And a lot of those voters won't watch this entire debate. So you're going to have to be very focused on the day after, 2 days after, 3 days after. What is the dominant set of videos and memes on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok?
And Liz, I trust that they have, the best of the best working on that effort, because I think a lot of those voters won't turn a television on between now and Election Day. I mean, everything they consume will be sort of what comes of these events.
Yeah, no, and the Biden campaign has been really, really smart about this. And I sometimes I see some snark about it from members of the mainstream media, but they've been very smart about partnering with influencers on TikTok, on Instagram, people with big social media followings, because we need to meet voters where they are. We need to reach them where they are consuming their news. And, unfortunately, it's not always going to be on Deadline White House. It's not always going to be in the New York Times. And so I think it is really smart to reach out to creators who aren't 100% political, who aren't 100% Democrats, to make sure that we are reaching voters where they are. Also making sure that, we're getting clips out to relevant audiences in non-political outlets, sports outlets, entertainment outlets, women-focused outlets, whatever it is. And the Biden team has been very smart about that. And I do think that that's something that will pay dividends for them going forward.
Liz, how do you, we talked about your beautiful book and about Pete Buttigieg and about what it's like to work for someone who feels like not just the future of the Democratic Party, but just the future. What is how do you get, I feel like, listen, I helped prepare Sarah Palin for a debate against Joe Biden. There was nothing we could teach her that would make her beat an answer. But when she said, "Can I call you Joe?" it was a moment that was hers and only hers. Mm-hmm. George W. Bush is someone Matt Dowd and I both worked for. I think his best line might have been in a debate against Al Gore when he said something about wood. There are people for whom, when they give out the awards for debating excellence, they not even to their own surprise, they might not make the list, but they can still own a moment. They can still own the evening by showcasing their humanity, by showcasing their humility, by self-owning the thing that everyone thinks they're, oblivious that everyone else is talking about. What is that moment for Joe Biden?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. For him, it is his humanity. It is his empathy, because he's the type of guy that, you might disagree with him on politics. You might not agree with every policy decision he's made. But generally, people think he's a good, decent guy. He's a family man. He's someone who is, Uncle Joe, who's out there looking out for regular people. And I think the more that he can lean into that and lean into that sort of image of himself, the better. Because it's also a great contrast with Donald Trump, who is all smoke and mirrors, who is all about showmanship, who is all about himself. Joe Biden might not be perfect. He might not have done everything that every voter has wanted him to do, but he goes out there every day and fights for them. Whereas Donald Trump, when he was elected, he just went out there and got results for millionaires, billionaires in the form of the biggest tax cuts in history. And we know that if he were to get elected again, he would double down on those policies, but also, as David said, go out there and spend a lot of his time prosecuting his political enemies. And that's the last thing we need right now, especially when so many people are still struggling in the post-COVID world that we live in.
Matt Dowd, really quick last question. Do you bring up the blueprint for a second term, which is what Liz just said? Project 2025 is about prosecuting his enemies. He got pretty far last time, targeting and prosecuting and smearing people he thought threatened him. What do you do with that, if anything?
I think that's one of the fundamental things he's got to do, because I think one of the things Joe Biden has to do is say, I'm on my last, years here, but the country's going to be turned over to you as the new generation of leadership here. Do you want a democracy, or do you want what Donald Trump presents? Here's what Donald Trump presents. Here's what I'm trying to protect and preserve for you, who are going to lead this country for the next 50 or 60 years. That's what I think the big question mark is. It's not about Joe Biden or Donald Trump personally. It's about what kind of country is going to be here in January 20th, 2025.
Amen, brother. David Plouffe, Matt Dowd, Liz Smith, three of the smartest people who've ever worked on these things. Thank you very much for starting us off today with your wisdom. When we come back, how right-wing media is priming its supporters of the disgraced ex-president and their viewers for the latest big lie, the new one, and why there is growing fear for the country's national security because of that lie. We're bringing that story next.
Compared
Paired with other chews, one Brevecto chew protects from fleas and ticks for 12 weeks, nearly 3 times longer.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurological disorders. Protection that lasts longer? Bravo, Brevecto! Bravo!
If you spit blood when you brush, it could be the start of a domino effect. New Parodontics Active Gum Repair Breath Freshener. Clinically proven to help reverse the 4 signs of early gum disease. A new toothpaste from Parodontics, the gum experts.
Every time I needed a new phone, I had to switch carriers.
I told him. At Verizon, everyone can get that iPhone 15 on them.
Now that I got a huge storage and battery upgrade, I'm officially done switching.
New and existing customers get iPhone 15 on us when they trade in any iPhone. Verizon.
That's not shopping for insurance.
Whoa. The unexpected can happen to any of us. That's why SelectQuote makes it easy to get the life insurance coverage you need to protect your family for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found me a $500,000 policy for only $16 a month.
We could help you save more than 50% on life insurance.
Visit or call us. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Oh, man, I love a good hotel breakfast.
Same.
Yeah, so close to the stadium. I managed to get the last room for $190.
I booked the last room a week ago.
I booked yesterday. One night, $140.
What?
How?
Some sites panic you into booking their last room, but they don't have all the availability. Instead, use Trivago. Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to $50 a night.
Well, at least I got the last ticket to the game.
So did I.
Hotel? Trivago.
How can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
I was always skeptical of credit cards, but I also know it's the best way to build your credit. As an entrepreneur, that's essential. So I got the Chime Credit Builder card. There's no annual fee, no interest, and no credit check. My score's gone up over 100 points. Check it out at chime.com.
These politicians can never agree.
Emma, we don't always agree. Like, you're into politics. It stresses me out.
You sleep hot, I sleep cool.
You like sleeping in luxury. I like spending less.
I guess that's why we agreed on this Satva mattress.
Maybe America needs a Satva.
At least we'd be comfortable disagreeing. Satva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
All right, team, saddle up. I want Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon.
Are you getting any of this?
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, count me in. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
There's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
I would expect that he'll get through the debate, but the question is, will he be intelligible the whole time?
Those are winning numbers. Those are numbers that says Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States.
He's on the verge of a 1980 Ronald Reagan blowout of Jimmy Carter. And I don't see practically how the Democrats offset reality.
They're going to game the system, or maybe even cheat.
How are we ever going to accept the results of this election in this kind of landscape?
Let's say by some weird, miraculous chance that we didn't see coming, given that Trump is ahead, has a 66% chance of winning, looks like he's going to get the electoral count, and Joe still wins. Well, then what do you do after you win? How do you convince anyone that's real?
Imagine if that was all the information you took in, right, between today and Election Day. If that was all you knew about the election, a distorted, bizarre, alternate reality not rooted in truth, where right now Donald Trump is, by their telling, so far out in front in the race for president in 2024 that the only thing standing between Trump and the White House again are the cheating Democrats. I guess that's how the conspiracy goes. What makes this alternate reality, this Fox News fantasy delusion, so dangerous is that conservative media, and Trump himself for that matter, are priming viewers and Trump supporters to reject any election that results in anything other than a Trump victory, such as the second Biden term, and to then once again accept a big lie about non-existent fraud. It's a political movement with a proven track record of inciting and leading to violence, such as on January 6th. But at the moment, as reported in the Washington Post, quote, the nation is experiencing a lull in political unrest. In fact, one of the quietest periods that extremism researchers have recorded in recent years. It might sound counterintuitive, but the phenomena are related. Because like we said, at the moment, Trump supporters are sure, they're positive. They've been told by Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters and Laura Ingraham specifically that he's going to win. And there's no need for violence, at least not yet, because the only way he loses is if Joe Biden and the Democrats cheat. Joining us, President of Media Matters for America, Angelo Carasone, is back, and former Deputy National Security Advisor under President Obama, Ben Rhodes, is here. Angelo, did I miss anything? I know you keep an eye on not just the segments, but the threads, the narrative threads on the right. What are we missing?
I think the one thing I would just note is that those samples at the intro were not sort of just cherry picked. They are reflective of what is happening on Fox News every single day. I mean, every single primetime host at Fox News has claimed that Democrats are going to cheat in order to steal the election in 2024. It's not just Laura Ingraham. I mean, that is reflective of it. In terms of what's missing, I think the two things I would note is that the layering in more broadly in conservative media and Fox as well of religiosity. They really they've introduced a lot more religious language. So they keep referring to Election Day as a blessed event. They keep referring to Trump as somebody who's a vessel of Jesus Christ. So they are adding in a layer of holiness, and that I think is to help sort of justify and rationalize any sort of violence or action that individuals have to take if, say, Donald Trump doesn't win the election, that it's more than just the political consequences, that they have sort of a religious and moral duty to sort of take action. That's the first thing. And then the second thing I would just note that's a little scary is that we are in the calm before the storm. And I think part of the reason why there's a lull is in part because people really believe that Trump's about to win, but also because all the major social networks have basically turned off access to researchers that was previously in 16 and 20, so that reporters and researchers were actually able to understand and monitor much more of the chatter that was happening out there right now. So I also think there's a lack of visibility, but from our assessment, it's just as hot as it ever was.
Say more about what the social media companies have done in terms of making that opaque.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, elsewhere, they used to have these services that would give researchers and reporters access to large amounts of data so that they could not just look at one post or two, but sort of get a good sample of what was happening under the hood. Those tools have been turned off or greatly reduced or shut off entirely by the major social networks. So if you're a researcher or a reporter doing this work, you don't really have the ability to do that tracking in the way that you were just, say, 2 years ago. And I do think that lack of visibility means that there's not reporters out there who are helping say, hey, here's a spotlight that we're seeing, trends that are emerging. So a lot of these things are happening not only in plain sight, but also one layer behind a veil in these private or closed communities. And that's the part where I think it all comes full circle, because one of the things that Trump and the Republicans have done this cycle, and right-wing media, that's even scarier than the last cycles, is that they've gone further and further into what used to be considered the fringes, into much more violent parts of sort of the populace, actual like Nazis, not, people that are just white supremacists or racist, but like actual neo-Nazi organizations and paramilitary groups to say, hey, it's time for you to be activated as well. And it's not just our opinion or assessment. Trump has been giving wink and a nods to those individuals at his rallies, because that is part of who and where they're beginning to increasingly organize power now. And the mechanism for doing that is right-wing media. It's making it more acceptable. And the social media is really the platform and the forum in which they do that. So I think it is a lot scarier, frankly. And I don't, I get why it's calmer, because they're excited, but it's also a lot more sort of opaque and confusing. And there's not a lot of ability for the public to really see what's going on right now.
Let me show you again where we get our data and our information. This is Trump supporter Stephen Ayers describing the call and response between Trump and his supporters on January 6th, Ben.
President Trump is still promoting the big lie about the election. How does that make you feel?
It makes me mad, because I was hanging on every word he was saying. Everything he was putting out, I was following it. I mean, if I was doing it, hundreds of thousands or millions of other people are doing it, or maybe even still doing it. It's like he just said about that, you know, you got people still following and doing that. Who knows what the next election could come out, you know, could end up being down the same path we are right now. I mean, just don't know.
I mean, Ben, one of the pieces of information we have that we didn't have the last two times Trump was a candidate is that his followers do what he tells them to do, many of them. There isn't a sort of braking system around a threat for violence for Donald Trump. And they will attack law enforcement if they stand in their way. And so I guess my concern is that we don't always have these conversations in sort of acknowledging our post-January 6th reality. And I wonder, heading into a debate, whether there needs to be a warning or any sort of different flag on rhetoric that in the past, for Mr. Ayers at least, led him to carry out acts of violence against cops. What sort of concerns do you have on the security front before Trump addresses more human beings than he's addressed probably in his career?
Well, I think what you see is this kind of symbiosis between Trump and right-wing media, and it's always been a chicken and egg as to who's leading and who's following between those two. But if I think back, I mean, part of the reason I think we should be so concerned is that if I think back, you know, to 2008, Fox News wasn't nice to Barack Obama, but it was kind of like, we're going to throw a lot of stuff at Barack Obama, and then he won, and they dealt with that. There was no questioning of legitimacy of election. You know, 2012 was a harder thing for them to swallow, but still. And then even through 2020, you know, you saw some of this before the election, but nowhere near the scale that we're seeing now. And so the point is, there's been an evolution in the information environment into which it is now completely normal for there to be regular, you know, allegations that the Democrats are going to steal the election. There's a kind of messianic, you know, air to Trump and his campaign. This is more than zero sum. This is like an existential battle in which there's no result that is legitimate other than Trump winning. And so all that is plowing the ground beforehand. It's kind of like a radicalization process where you know that there's an event on the calendar of the election, and you know that there's millions of people who are being conditioned to believe that one result is totally legitimate. We haven't been there before, Nicolle. I mean, that wasn't necessarily the case in the run up to 2020 because Trump was president, and it felt like, you know, their guy was calling the shots. And so now, from this insurgent position, they're basically being told there's no outcome that's legitimate other than him winning, and because he's leading the polls, there's no way that it can possibly be true that he loses if that happens. And again, if you're looking at this from a kind of pure radicalization standpoint, they're creating a massive information ecosystem designed to make people believe that. And I do think that part of what needs to be done is efforts by lots of people. You know, look, even Trump supporting Republicans who are more responsible, and I don't hold out a lot of hope for this, beginning to talk about the integrity of the election, right? There has to be a way to puncture some of that information bubble and tell people what is true and what is fiction when it comes to the conduct of the election itself, and that you can support Trump and still be in a place where you have to accept the result if he loses, you know. And we don't see much of that at all. In the debate, you know, I think he needs to be called out. I get that there's not going to be real-time fact-checking in this debate, but I do believe that if it gets in the direction of the big lie, or gets in the direction of integrity of elections, or gets into these kind of wild, totally unproven claims about Democrats cheating, you know, I do think he needs to be fact-checked on that stage because certain information, you know, really is dangerous to the health of the democracy.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to be up against two anchors who are pretty expert at doing it on their own broadcast. I want to continue this conversation. I have to sneak in a quick break first. Don't go anywhere. We'll all be right back.
Affirmative action is a right that we have.
There has to be something against Asian Americans specifically.
Affirmative action is under attack!
You cannot remedy discrimination and preferences with new discrimination.
This is a story about getting away with treachery and coming back stronger.
These people don't disappear, they just go underground.
Rachel Maddow presents Ultra, Season 2 of the chart-topping original podcast. Listen now.
Citi's industry-leading global payment solutions help their clients move money around the world seamlessly in over 180 countries, and help a partner like the World Food Program as they provide more than food to people in need. Together, Citi and the World Food Program empower families across the globe.
Someone needs to customize and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Wait, there's an elevator?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Oh, my denture's uncomfortable.
Dracula, let's fight back against discomfort with new Polygrip Power Max Hold and Comfort. It has superior hold, plus keeps us comfy all day with its pressure-absorbing layer.
Time for a bite.
If your mouth could talk, it would ask for
Polygrip.
Love you. Have a good day. Behave yourself.
Like, she goes to work at 3 in the afternoon and sometimes gets off at midnight. She works a lot. A whole lot. We don't get to eat in the early morning. We just wait till we get to the school. So, yeah.
Right now, here in America, millions of kids like Victoria and Andre live with hunger, and the need to help them has never been greater. When you join your friends, neighbors, and me to support No Kid Hungry, you'll help hungry kids get the food they need.
If we want to take care of our children, then we have to feed them.
Your gift of just 63 cents a day, only $19 a month at helpnokidhungry.org right now, will help provide healthy meals and hope.
We want our children to grow and thrive and to just not have to worry and face themselves with the struggles that we endure. Nobody wants that for their children.
Like, if these programs didn't exist, me and AJ, we wouldn't probably get lunch at all.
Please call or go online right now with your gift of just $19 a month. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this limited edition t-shirt to show you're part of the team that's helping feed kids and change lives.
If you're coming in hungry, there's no way you can listen to me teach, do this activity, work with this group. So starting their day with breakfast and ending their day with this big, beautiful snack is pretty incredible.
Whether kids are learning at school or at home, your support will ensure they get the healthy meals they need to thrive. Because when you help feed kids, you feed their hopes, their dreams, and futures. Kids need you now more than ever. So please call this number right now to join me in helping hungry kids, or go online to helpnokidhungry.org and help feed hungry kids today.
Penrose, I want to ask you to pick up on what Angelo said about religion. I mean, that is the tie in far-right rhetoric in America to far-right rhetoric in Vladimir Putin's Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple pieces to this. The first thing is that globally, Nicolle, as you point out, we see this blending of right-wing populism and Christian nationalism. And it can travel to different nations, right? So Orban has a view of politics where there's the real Hungarians and then everybody else. And the real Hungarians are the true Christian Hungarians. Putin is very much kind of weaponized his affiliation with the Russian Orthodox Church to delegitimize LGBT communities, Muslim communities, and Ukraine, anybody who basically is an adversary of his. The bigger problem with it is that there's a reason that the founding fathers separated out religion and politics. It's not because they didn't want people to be religious in their private lives. It's because when you make politics about religion, it becomes more existential, right? You're no longer just debating about kind of policy differences or differences in the direction of civic life. It's really about kind of core identity. And we see constantly, frankly, plenty of examples around the world of when you blend politics and religion, it becomes absolutist. And you kind of give no quarter to opposition, because all of a sudden your religious beliefs are completely tied up in your kind of political tribal identity here. And again, that's why this is dangerous. It's not because people shouldn't be free to practice whatever religion they want in this country. They should. That was the whole point of the Constitution. But the reason you separate church and state is because when you start blending this kind of religiosity with political debates, it becomes all or nothing in just a different kind of way. And people are willing to go to further extremes than they would otherwise. That there's just been a connection between more fundamentalist religious views and violence around the world in recent years that we've all experienced. And so this is very much something to watch. Now, there's an absurdity to it because Trump himself is so clearly not a religious figure, not someone who's church-going, but that doesn't matter. If he's being sold as the kind of vessel for a certain religious set of beliefs, the risk of more extreme outcomes does go up. And here, Nicolle, we should talk about who can stand up and make statements about what is, what is true and false and what is objective reality and what is good, not helpful to democracy. Here, I think religious leaders, faith leaders, have a role to play in making clear that about coexistence in this nation between faiths. And being deeply religious doesn't mean hating people that have different views. Our whole system of government, frankly, was set up to prevent that from happening.
I have to sneak in one more break. Angela, I want to, we're in a post-Shep Smith, post-Chris Wallace Fox News landscape. On the other side, I want to ask you if there's any ties to reality on that network anymore. I have to sneak in a break first. We'll be right back.
If you have Graves' disease, your eye symptoms could mean something more. That gritty feeling can't be brushed away. Even a little blurry vision can distort things, and something serious may be behind those itchy eyes. Up to 50% of people with Graves could develop a different condition called thyroid eye disease, which should be treated by a different doctor. See an expert. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
Tangazo hili linahusu njaa. Tarajia kuona watoto wakiwa na njaa katika maeneo haya. Mambo yalikuwa bora kwa miaka mingi. Tuliweza kupigana na njaa na watoto wachache walikufa. Lakini sasa mambo yamebadilika na kwa mabaya zaidi. Hii ni kwa sababu wakati huu ukame umeangamiza zaidi.
Через війни та конфлікти ми мусимо залишати наші домівки і всі наші речі. Ми навіть не маємо їжі. Тому нам потрібна ваша допомога.
Millions of children are fighting to survive due to inequality, conflict, poverty, and the climate crisis. Save the Children is working alongside communities to provide a better life for children. And there's a way you can help. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month. Only 30.
constituency, but they're not reflections. They sort of engage and steer. But that's not the case anymore. Fox is a reflection of the right-wing media fever swamps. And how that ties into a discussion you're having with Ben earlier is where you pointed out that we're in a post-January 6th world, and we don't necessarily ask that question enough and what the significance of it is. And Ben was noting that one of the things that's different in this cycle is that the notion of a stolen election has not just been incubated, but it's germinated. These seeds now have grown into small plants, and so Fox being a reflection of an audience means that if they're pumping more of those lies and that misinformation into the space, they're validating it and they're making the reality, the action of that reality, and all those externalities much more likely. And Rupert Murdoch himself acknowledged, as we saw during the Dominion filings, that only Fox News could have corrected the record when it came to the election being stolen. They chose not to. So that's the significance and why this matters so much. It's not just navel gazing.
Angela, we're gonna do a deeper dive on some of what you're watching. So interesting. Ben Rhodes, thank you for watching this with us. Thank you both for spending time with us today. To be continued. Ahead in the next hour, Michael Cohen will join us on the latest headline today from Judge Juan Merchan, as well as what Joe Biden should do in the debate against Donald Trump. Deadline White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Family is the most important. But sometimes a lack of energy can get in the way. Your body needs fuel, especially as you get older. But there's no better fuel for your body than whole fruits and vegetables. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements provides the nutrition your body needs, helping you embrace what matters most.
Get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee by using discount code LOVE.
Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Every time I needed a new phone, I had to switch carriers.
I told him, at Verizon, everyone can get that iPhone 15 on them.
Now that I got a huge storage and battery upgrade, I'm officially done switching.
New and existing customers get iPhone 15 on us when they trade in any iPhone. Verizon.
The all-new GoDaddy Aero helps you get your business online in minutes with the power of AI. With the perfect name, a great logo, and a beautiful website. Just start with a domain, a few clicks, and you're in business. Make now the future at GoDaddy.com/Aero.
This is what the pursuit of happiness sounds like. Freedom tastes better on a Blackstone. Go to the nearest Blackstone retailer or blackstoneproducts.com today.
Every day, more dog people and more vets are deciding it's time for a fresh approach to pet food. They're quitting the kibble and kicking the cans and feeding their dogs dog food that's actually, well, food. Developed with vets, made from real meat and veggies, portioned for your dog, and delivered right to your door. It's smarter, healthier pet food. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/realfood.
We just signed the lease on our third shop. My assistant went to customink.com to get new uniforms with all the locations. He found great products, uploaded new art, and had boxes sent to all the shops. Custom Ink makes it so easy. Get started today at customink.com.
This bakery needs new equipment fast to keep up with demand. So they're going to OnDeck, the online lender that makes it easy to choose your loan and, if approved, get funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
I have a structured settlement and I call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
If the only things about being pro-business were regulation and taxes, then you go, okay, great. It's whoever goes lower regulation, lower taxes. The rule of law is what has made America very special. It has made an environment for business that has been spectacular, a glowing beacon to the entire world. It's the trust that other countries have in us and our system and how we interact, which allows our industries to export and allows the dollar to be the reserve world currency of the world. And that's the reason why Biden is fundamentally, no matter what, more pro-business than Trump.
Hi again, everyone. It's now 5 o'clock in the East. Who would have thought that Donald Trump's 4 indictments, 34 felonies, and 3 civil judgments might not be so good for business after all? That was billionaire LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman shooting down the disgraced ex-president's oft-repeated claim that he is the candidate preferred by the business community in America. Jeff Sonnenfeld, as the president of the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute, works with executives and speaks with business leaders every single day. In an op-ed in the New York Times, he echoes the opinion we just heard from Reid Hoffman, writing this, quote, "The reality is that the top corporate leaders working today, like many Americans, aren't entirely comfortable with either Mr. Trump or President Biden.